Hey everyone, as promised, I will release some of the solutions here. For the first part, this is the functions and relations part 6 homework that I assigned earlier this week on Tuesday. So just glancing at everyone's work so far, everyone seems to be doing fine with these first few problems here, AB1, A, B, and C. The part where some people are kind of feeling a little bit lost is over in this section. It's understandable because this is, I mean, it's the lecture video itself. I went through it pretty quick just for the sake of I don't want to waste your time and I just want to ensure that you're getting just the gist of the material. So I'm going to show you how I would personally solve these problems, and hopefully we'll give you a little bit of clarity on how to go forward with anything else that you're solving. Because a lot of this is built off the fundamentals that you should have been taught in grade 9, whether you were in honors or Common 9 math. You should have been taught these basic skills. So I'm not saying that hey you're a terrible person if you don't know them, because it's been a whole year, right? Yet who knows? Maybe it's all gone out of your head, right? And for most people, that's going to be the case. So let's declutter the waters here and figure out how to solve these. Okay. So for all the questions for number 2, we're asked to determine the x-y intercept, and we're going to essentially graph a linear function based off of those two points that we were able to put on our graph. So let's dive right in here. I'm going to save everything up here for just the finalized work, and down here below this red line is where I'll do all the heavy lifting. Okay, so need to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Let's just start with the first one there. Let's just start with figuring out the x-intercept. So we want x-intercept. And I have a new tip for my pen. It's kind of weird. I'm not a huge fan of it, but we'll see how it goes. So my apologies if my writing is worse for some reason. Okay, so x-intercept. How do we find this? Well, the x-intercept, let's recall. I'm just going to draw a sample grid here. The x-intercept occurs somewhere along this line here, right? Because this is our x-axis. And our x-intercept is going to occur somewhere along this axis, right on the axis itself. So what do we know? Well, what's the y value when a point is along this axis? Well, we know that the y value has to be 0, right? Because as we get from bigger and bigger values and go down to 0, 0 is where it actually crosses through this x-axis. So we need to plug in y equals 0. This pen tip feels so weird it's not the standard Apple one. Okay, I'll stop talking about my pen tips. Okay, plug in y equals 0. So we're going to do that. And let's do this in a different color just because I like to switch things up. Let's do 4x minus 6. Open up my brackets. Plug in 0 equals 12. So let's solve what's easiest to solve here. Well, anything times 0 is just 0. So negative 6 times 0 is just 0. So all we're left with is 4x equals 12. Well, we need to get this x on its own. Right now it's being multiplied by 4, right? So we need to do the opposite, which is divide by 4. And we get x equals 3. Right? Yeah, 3. So, and when we're writing this in coordinate form, remember for coordinate form, our x term comes first and then our y term comes after. So some folks even saw when they were writing these out, they had the right idea, but they put both coordinates in the y, and you end up getting a straight line just like that, which that's actually not a linear function, because that would fail the vertical line test, right? You'd have like an infinite amount of points all lining up on this line for the same value of x. So let's write this in coordinate form up here. So we have 3, 0. And let's figure out the y-intercept. Y-intercept. So for the other one, we plugged in y equals 0. For the y-intercept, we're going to plug in x equals 0, right? Because the point at x equals 0 is going to be right here. And that leaves us with only numbers which will follow along our y-axis, right? So we do that. Let's see what we get. Let's switch back to our blue color. And we got 4x minus 6y. But instead of 4x, I'm going to plug in 0 minus 6y equals 12. Okay. 4 times 0, that's just 0. But we need to remember to keep that negative 6 there, right? That negative 6y equals 12. Well, Right now there's a negative 6 being multiplied against that y. So how about let's divide out negative 6. You always want to, if there's ever a negative attached to your variable, just always divide it out. Even if it's a negative y on its own, which I talked about in the very beginning of the most recent lecture video, just divide it out or multiply it out by -1. Just make that variable positive no matter what. So we do that, and we get y equals, what's 12 divided by -6? Well, it's just -2. And we'll put this in coordinate form up here. So we get 0, remember? And since we're talking about our y, -2. So we plot this on the graph. Let's find 3, 0. 3, 0 is going to be right here for our x-intercept. This is 3, 0. And for our y-intercept, we have 0, -2. 0, -2. 0, -2. And we're just going to connect those 2 points as best as I can here. I am god-awful at doing this. Maybe I'll try doing this first. So we have that, and then I'll just extend this out. It won't be pretty, but gets the job done. And then we can even, to go one step further, which I do appreciate if you did, just label this what the equation is called. Okay, there we go. All right, let's look at B. So we have x minus y equals 7. This one's super nice because there's actually little work that we need to do to solve this. So let's separate this out, and we'll start with the x-intercept. Set y equal to 0. And what do we get? Well, x minus, open up a bracket, 0 equals 7. Well, what do we have? X equals minus 0 is 0, 7. Done. So our x-intercept is 7, 0. What about our y-intercept? Y-intercept. X is going to equal 0 in this case, right? Let's go back to here, and we do 0 minus y equals 7. Well, we're just left with minus y equals 7, or negative y equals 7. Now remember, we want to make sure that this negative y we want to turn that into a positive just because it makes our lives easier. So I'm going to divide everything by -1. You can either do that or you can multiply everything by -1. They have the same effect. And what we get is positive y now equals -7. So our y-intercept becomes 0, -7. And we could plot this on our graph up here. Let's do that really quick. There's one line. There's 2 lines, and we'll label our axes, x, y. Let's find 7. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and -7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's actually not on our page here, unfortunately. And we'll connect them, and then I'll try and extend it out as perfectly as I can. Something like that. And we'll label it, just because we can. X minus y equals 7. Okay, perfect. Okay, now what about this one? It's a bit more involved, but same process. So let's do x-intercept. Oops. So y equals 0. And here we go. So we're going to have 0 equals -3 over 4, x minus 6. We want to get x on its own. What's the easiest thing that we can move right now? What's the low-hanging fruit here that we can move? This -6 is going to be nice and easy to move because all we have to do is add. Ooh, you can't really see that. I can't even see that. It's on my own friggin' screen. We're going to add 6 to each side, right? Keep everything balanced. That's the whole idea behind algebra. If we do one thing to the other side, we have to do it to the other side, right? So we have 6. Positive 6 equals -3 over 4 x. Okay? Well, -3 over 4x, we could do this 2 ways. What I prefer to do is to get rid of that denominator. So we see this denominator over here is 4. That means it's being divided by 4. -3 times x is being divided by 4. So we need to, instead of dividing by 4, we need to multiply by 4 on both sides. What do we get if we do that? 24 equals -3x. So these are gone, right? And now we just need to get rid of that -3. Well, right now it's being multiplied to the x, so how about we divide by it? we get x equals what's this? 24 divided by negative 3 is negative 8, right? So there's our x-intercept. And another thing here, if you didn't want to solve it in this form, you can just kick everything onto the other side and just flip-flop around. So you see how this was 24 over negative 3, and I just flipped it so it was just x equals negative 8, because I prefer reading it from left to right. You could do that. Like, you could just flip everything onto one other side and keep everything the same. Nothing changes. It's just a different perspective that you're looking at the question, okay? And let's do our y-intercept, which actually becomes the easiest one, because we're setting x equal to 0. So we do that, we plug in y equals negative 3 over 4, open up our brackets, times 0, minus 6. Well, what's anything times 0 is just 0, right? So we're just left with y equals negative 6. Y equals negative 6. So 0, negative 6. Voila. So we can graph this, Let's get my color scheme staying the same here. Actually, I'm going to have to move this over so that I have more room. So actually, let's do this. And let's put it more up here. Y, x. The reason I'm making it like that is just so I can still count by 1 and have enough room. Oh, and I did it the wrong way. I'm a goof. I want to put it more towards over here. There we go. Oh, not crooked lines. There we go. This is our y. Okay, so let's plot the x one first. We have negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's our 8. And let's plot our y, which was negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we'll draw our connecting line between each one. And then I'll just extend it out to show that it is going in both directions all the way to infinity and negative infinity. And we'll label this y equals negative 3 over 4, x minus 6. And just another brief note, this is the same thing as slope intercept form. Our ideal function format. So I hope that was helpful for for those of you who might have been struggling with these last ones. Again, if you have any questions, please, we can schedule our own office hours if you want. If you ever want some one-on-one tutoring or help, I am willing to do that free of charge, because right now there's going to be a lot of tutors out there charging some good money for the online learning rate. So please message me and I'll give you a hand. So that's it. I hope that has been useful, and that's the last you're going to hear me this week. You have the quiz tomorrow. It's going to be small, just about 10 questions, I would imagine. And that's it. So please enjoy your weekend, and we'll connect next week. Okay. Hope you're all doing super well and staying healthy. Okay. See you, everyone. Bye.